Let's start as we always do. Join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build better? Thanks to Don, who's my standby when I don't have a song guy. America the Beautiful. Above the fluted plain, America, America, let's shed His grace on thee, and crown with glory, sea to shining sea. Now let's turn to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States. Tom Holden's going to lead our invocation for today. Amen. Thank you, Tom. Dan, would you come up and introduce our guests and visitors?
Good afternoon. We have two guests with us this afternoon. We have Ken Gagne, a guest of Ken Hurst. Ken, do you want to introduce? Or, yeah, Ken, would you like to introduce your guest today? Yep. And we also have April Helper here, a guest of Noah. Noah, you want to introduce your guest, please?
That's great. Really appreciate you guys visiting us today and hope you'll be part of us. We'll try not to scare anybody too much. So with that said, I don't have anything on my list today for Family of Rotary. Does anybody have anything that's going on within the club that you want to tell us about? Nothing? Okay. So with that said, just a couple of announcements. As always, we talk about putting your service hours, logging those service hours. We want to know what we're doing as a club. I'll get an update from Michael soon on the number of hours that we've collected, but we're doing a lot of good things. So keep reporting them back. The next opportunity we have a club is coming up on November 6th. And so we've talked about wanting to make sure we give you guys plenty of notice. And so this is one we talked about several weeks back. This has to do with the Veterans Parade. And so our opportunity is to really just help organize the veterans in the parade. And we're expecting around noon on Sunday the 6th. And so there's going to be a sign-up sheet, a Rotary sign-up or a sign-up genius. But anybody that's interested also just to let Noah or Quentin or myself or Michael know. And but it should be a great way to honor the veterans. It's going to be probably a pretty quick window service opportunity. Not a lot of heavy lifting, so to speak. So we're looking forward to continuing the community, and that's our next opportunity coming up. So with nothing further, I will ask Rodney to introduce our speaker today, who's one of our own, somebody we know well, but Rodney is going to tell us a bit more about Chaz.
Yeah, so we have Chaz with us today, which many of you already know. Chad's been a member of this club for a long time and was the president in, we're going to say, the mid 2000s. We couldn't pin that one down. But for those of you who don't know, Chaz, just a few things. Chad was elected in 2008 and began serving the Rockingham District Court, which includes the city of Harrisonburg. And during his 15 years in this capacity, he has worked diligently to streamline court processes, as well as focus a lot of his attention on preserving court records that date back as early as 1739. And I know we have some of those over there. And he also has me on speed dial because I've been on jury duty, I think, 4 times in the last, during his tenure. So yeah, so you gotta behave or you'll get called to the principal's office. Prior to his election, Chaz spent 14 years working for members of the United States Congress. He was employed by James Madison University and spent 9 years in the Virginia National Guard. Chaz lives in Kieseltown with his wife, Virginia Bertner, who is a cattle rancher and artist. They have 3 adult children and 2 grandchildren, and a dog, Fridley, who often frequents the courthouse, which, since I'm a frequent flyer there too, I've seen Fridley there a lot. Chaz is adamant about service to others, which includes his involvement in many organizations, including Rotary, American Legion, Harrisonburg Downtown Renaissance, On the Road Collaborative, Explore More Museum, Harrisonburg Rockingham Boys and Girls Club. He's a member of Grace Covenant Church in Harrisonburg, graduated from James Madison University with a degree in political science, and received his certified clerk of the court status from the University of Virginia Weldon Cooper Center in 2012. Welcome, Chaz.
Take your jacket off. I was thinking about taking the tie off as well. You might get a feedback with 2 things. Good. Hey, everybody. It's good to be back with y'all. It has been a while. Mondays are busy days in court, so I don't get down and get out as much as I certainly would like to, but it's good to be back with so many friends and familiar faces. I looked back at when I first started speaking to different groups in 2008, and you all were the second group to invite me to join. And boy, we've come a long way. Who was with us in 2008? Yeah, there you go. So there still are quite a few folks. You all remember we used to have about 180 people show up, and you did wear a jacket and you did wear a tie. And but we've come a long way, and it's great. So what I'd like to do today is just quickly share with you, give you a few updates on what we're doing down in your Rockingham Circuit Court in the clerk's office. I'd like to share with you just some brief statistics, which makes everybody kind of glaze over. But then really what I want to do is show you what we're doing differently. History always seems to be the thing that intrigues folks. We can talk to you about the jury management system that is fair, that randomly selects folks that we built here in Rockingham County, that's now used in about 20 plus courts across the Commonwealth because it's that good. And we did that driven based upon what we actually, the type of work we do in Virginia, not buying something from Canada or California. So that's been exciting. We can talk about that. We talk about our land record system and all these, and people again just say, oh, great. But then we say, hey, here's a document from 1780 that somebody stepped on. It's, ooh, Chaz, tell us about that document. So I want to tell you about those documents. Who was born and raised in Rockingham County, Harrisonburg? Quick hands. Parents born, raised Rockingham. Say, we can still have a couple. So I want to show you folks a lot of what you can do in our office. We did let me just hit this real quick. So this isn't campaigning, but it's always campaigning because it's my job, but it's not, because what I did is when I first started and talked to y'all, the very first slide I did, I told you about the 4 things that I wanted to do in the office and what we were going to do. And those are the same things you would do in your business and industry. And it's the financial side, it's the fiscal side, it's managing staff, the number of staff, and how we're going to be responsive to everybody who walks in the office. Because we honestly, everybody and anybody who comes to Rockingham Circuit Court Clerk's office, you all know it's all walks of life. We do marriages there, we do divorces there, we handle all the probate matters there, we handle all your deeds that you've bought and purchased, and all the land transactions going back to 1778. And those are records that are kept forever. We have all the felony cases or misdemeanor appeals. So we have the worst of the worst, the murders, the rapes, the horrible things that happen to children. So it's not always a good place to be, but there's a lot of important work that to get done there. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, I have amazing deputy clerks. If you've been in my office, you've met them, and they greet you with a smile most of the time, 99% of the time. My motto is still kill them with kindness. We've used that for the last 15 years and it still works. And because we're there to take care of people, and they do a great job with that. So I just want to show you, this is kind of a mess. And that's just because I grabbed some numbers really quickly. And let me just tell you what you see, just for the heck of it. So what you'll see if you look on here is our caseload. Last year, we're still up about 4,000 cases, 4,000 items more than any time before. Concealed handgun permits dropped a couple thousand. The reason that dropped, which is really kind of interesting, because in Virginia, 2 years ago, the General Assembly made a decision that they were going to change the way you have to apply for a concealed handgun permit, a rule related to it. So everybody, Republicans, Democrats, everybody came running quickly before the government made it harder for them for you to have a concealed handgun permit. Our marriages are up. Passports are something we still do. If you've been to my office for passports, you'll hopefully it's a good reason to visit. It's not something we have to do, but we do it because it's a good service. The post office used to do it. I know there's a couple folks here that have come to my office, said they set up an appointment at the post office, got there, and we're told, oh no, we don't really do those right now. And so we keep doing them. It also adds $35 per passport back into the local economy that wouldn't be seen otherwise. It would go to the federal government. And we already give enough to the federal government. So if we can do our part in keeping, this year we're on track for an extra $100,000 that'll stay here in Rockingham County, just because of something as simple as doing a passport. Criminal and civil matters continue to stay about the same. I was real excited about this about a month ago. We did an image count, 10.5 million images. Every document is an image. Everything you see. So on our websites, available to the public. In the last 15 years, we now have 10.5 million of those. That's a lot. When you talk 14 to 17 people in the office, scanning and imaging and back scanning to make sure that when you go online, you can find things quickly. Well, there's 5 million things out there for you to search. So I'm pretty proud of that. We're going to continue to apply for grants. So you'll see some books back here on the table. I brought a couple that always have stories associated with them. I brought a burnt book from October 1864, when during the Civil War, the burning, for those of you who are interested. As the North came down through the valley, burning farms, burning courthouses. Our courthouse was never burnt. Burning courthouses because it was brilliant from a strategic side, as an Army guy, strategically to get rid of all proof that you own land, get rid of your marriages, get rid of everything that makes you a community. So it was pretty smart for them to burn courthouses. However, at the time, Judge Allen told the clerk, go hide all our books in the Blue Ridge. So they loaded up the books in a wagon and headed out towards Grottoes. And we did find the site in Grottoes. And but right there, the wagon either broke a wheel or got stuck in the mud. And subsequently, the Northern troops, Hunter's folks, were actually right there. And they said, thank you for bringing us your records. And they lit the wagon on fire. And that's actually one of the books that survived what was left of that fire. So if you're interested in the Civil War history, that's one of those books. The other item preserved in the Mylar sleeves, the plastic sleeves, are actually our land grants. We've collected, I have over 30 now collected, which are created. They started with jolly old England. They would look for Ed Chappell is a good loyalist here in this new world. And the king would say, Ed, I'm giving you 10,000 acres to settle, create the blacksmith, create the markets, and then make sure you send all this money back to England. And so those land grants, that's what those did. They created vast areas in the Commonwealth of Virginia for England. Now, what happened after we became independent, our governors continued the same process for many, many years. So we have many of those. The very first one that I unfolded, not knowing what it was, it said James Monroe. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. And they're all written on vellum. And if you don't know what vellum is, it's skin. So they're fascinating documents. So we had them all preserved. King George II, King George III, Dinwiddie, Gooch, Lord Fauquier, so many, Lee, Wood, so many amazing, amazing Virginians are restored in that book over there. And I brought that for you to take a quick look at. And every year we continue to apply for those grants. It's not our money, it's your money. You paid it to Richmond. We're just going back to try to get more of it back here locally. So I'm going to talk to you and show you, because that's really want to show you and talk to you a little bit and get some feedback. A lot of our online search tools through my website. Has anybody used our website for any historical, genealogy, land records? Boy, I'm sure this is the right group. Hey, we got one. Okay, good. We have two, but we really have put everything up there for you. We know that folks don't like to come and try to find a parking spot in downtown Harrisonburg. Good luck. We know that attorneys really appreciate it as well, because they don't have to send a runner over. Attorneys can now electronically file almost anything except criminal matters. And so that allows them to save that time. They can do it all electronically. So it's a good tool, because obviously we know they're going to charge you. They're going to send you a bill, right? So this saves them time, saves them money, which hopefully saves you the same. We also have created portals for you to log in, and I don't require a long-term contract. You can sign in and get 5 minutes on our land record system, 30 minutes on our electronic system. You can get a 1 month for $26 a month. Everybody else charges 50. We charge you 26. And the reason I charge you 26 is because that's what it costs us. We pretty much take a look at the number of users we have, and we've adjusted over time, and 26 is the sweet spot. I'm not looking to make money off you. I don't think the government should be making money off you for something like this, because you already paid for us to do the work. You paid for our electricity, you paid for all those things. So we just try to do our best just to give it back to you. For the historical side, we've continued to add our county minutes, which are the historical minutes of Rockingham County Board of Supervisors, the city minutes for the city of Harrisonburg. Now I'm taking my jacket off. It's getting hot. And do this. If you're anybody interested in history, do we like history? Okay. I'm making sure I am going down the right path. I don't need to go back to more statistics for you. Oh yeah, much better. Okay, so let me just hop into something. So an idea I had was that I wanted to find a way to put records out there that you don't have to pay for. The Code of Virginia says that anything I put out there, you have to, and you come to the office, it's 50 cents a page. That's a lot when you add things up. But I found this nice little caveat, which allows us to put things on a state site that will then is accessible to you. Most of it is 100 years or more old. So we partnered with James Madison University, and we created Exploring Rockingham's Past. Exploring Rockingham's Past first started with the Shenandoah National Park records. Y'all familiar with those? Ever got kicked off the mountain, right? Walton's had an episode. That's most popular episode of the Waltons, just so you know. So we created Exploring Rockingham's Past, and we started to dump not just the national park court records, because every one of those individuals had a court case associated with taking of the property. But then we started going on, and we had another graduate student from JMU who was really interested in the Prohibition records. Those are fascinating. And if you, we started to see that crossover of connecting people and families, because folks, a lot of the mountain properties had fruit trees. Guess what you do with fruit trees? You make some pretty good liquor. And we also, then we started getting into the criminal cases of the time. And then the criminal cases, we started to see the same thing with people running alcohol. And that was fascinating. Who knows Judge Andrew Bacher? Judge Bacher, right? Our newest judge. We started doing some research because of his name on the Elkton side of Rockingham County. and immediately found his, I think his 3 great grandfather was a known moonshiner, which is pretty amazing. Then the other side of his family, they all got kicked off the mountain. So you have a judge less than 100 years ago, his family, how you would never have thought that they would be given these opportunities. But I love stories like that, because you see how far families have come in less than 100 years. So we did Exploring Rockingham's Past, which has now grown into Histories of the Blue Ridge. I don't know if you saw the news the other night. Steve Landis, former delegate Steve Landis, is now the clerk of court in Augusta County. His office is now coming on board, so it couldn't be Rockingham. Madison, Rappahannock, and several other localities now all loading their historical records. So it really becomes so much greater than who we are in Rockingham County, and it's exciting because it's creating even a better way for people doing research to find records. I'm going to get past that because you're not in the courtroom. So I'm going to walk over here. Can I walk over here? Great. It's about 5 degrees cooler down here. So I got here and I broke your projector. I apologize. Something went wrong. And then I started to break a sweat because I was nervous because I didn't have a projector, and I haven't cooled down since. So let's do a couple searches just for fun. All right. So anything and everything you can do from our website. And what's great about that, whether it's criminal or civil, your concealed handgun permits, your if you want to take right off the genealogy, if you enjoy the historical side, it takes you right into all those historical records, and those are all free. Everything and anything you're interested in for that side of it is free. We started to also touch on the military records. Who's a veteran here? Quick show of hands. Do we have your DD-214s down at my office? Maybe. If you don't have it, I gotta get a napkin. If we don't have your DD-214, it's the only thing that we don't charge for in the Commonwealth of Virginia, is to put that to record permanently. So mine's down there. I'd highly recommend you bring it down. Once you put it to record in the courthouse, you can get as many certified copies as you want forever. So it's a really good safe spot to put them. We're started to load up our World War I records, Spanish-American War records. For those of you who are interested in those military sides of it, those records are all online now and available for free searching. So this is Histories Along the Blue Ridge, which you can find from a website, genealogy. We had Appeal Productions make a great entry video, and I won't bore you with it, but it's really a cool video. And but this lets you, in this top right box, anything and everything you want to search of all those records. And let me give you an example. I was sitting at a family event about 2 months ago, and I had some family members from my wife's side talk about their family who had been up on the mountain. And I said, well, why don't you can you give me a name? And they said, well, we can only remember the grandmother's name was Minnie. So I typed in Minnie, and Minnie Marshall came up. And what was fascinating about that, once I got down to Minnie Marshall, and I know she's here, is it turns out that, and here it gives you a good idea. We do real high quality scans, real high quality. So it turns out Minnie Marshall, grandma, moonshiner, which is great. But it was that quick that you can find anybody. So, and that's what I try to do a lot of times, is just show you, sit down sometime with the time that we spent with your records in working with JMU. There are so many treasures that are in there. We're focusing a lot. We started to get into we're starting to look at the voter registration. We're starting to load up a lot of the voter registration, anything related to voting, because it was fascinating. Of course, it was divided between men, women, and color. So we're starting to put those items in there. We're starting to put in, we have our register of the Free Black book that we're putting in there as well. Those tell amazing stories from 1804 to 1849, when individuals were being freed in this community, far before any war or anything like that. So we're working on getting those items up there. There's a book called The Insane, Inebriate, Epileptic, and Feeble-Minded Persons. Big book. There are a lot of those. What's interesting about those are the books when they made decisions. I'm leaving your video. I can't stay still. the interesting thing with those books are they tell the story about why individuals were put in Western state. And that's a fascinating story. If you are ever interested in why the government thought you were not capable, do I need to sit down? Capable. Okay. Good, I'll stand up. We'll make Andy work. I don't sit still ever, folks. So this is rough. But what's interesting about those books, when you started to look at the gauge, you know, Judge Crum, you would have your different forms and you would always have a base to begin with of innocent or guilt or something. So what your base was for sanity was different, ladies, between men and women. Just because you were a female, you were more apt to be insane. Help me with this. Help me understand. Guys are like, shut up, guys, don't laugh. But it was fascinating that not that long ago, we're talking about the 50s and 60s, just because you were female, you were looked at differently. But I think those are some of the stories that we're trying to tell. We're getting far enough away. Since they are public record, I always hesitate with health things, put things online. They are public record, but we're gauging the best way to tell that story without invading anybody's privacy on that. Again, you can come to the office anytime in a court of record and you can see everything. You can see anything unless it involves a child, a juvenile, or certain medical records. Almost everything else is public anytime. So that's one of the future projects we're working on. Let me just encourage you though to go to the site. Where's my mouse? There it is. You can take a look at the Shenandoah National Park side. You can take a look at our prohibition side. You can read about there were a lot of churches that applied for alcohol use, communion, lots of communion with some churches. But there's lots of communion. So, but it's good data, it's good information, it's entertaining, and it's us. That's, what I found most interesting is that when you look at the settling of the United States, people came here, and this was a huge stopping point before folks headed west. I'm from Idaho. I was born in Montana. A lot of you know that. Raised in Idaho. My dad was a logger. I'm so fortunate to have ended in Harrisonburg, Rockingham County, and I love my job in a courthouse. That's really, really odd. But I've enjoyed saving all these records. And a few years ago, a cousin of mine said, "Oh, you're in Rockingham, Virginia. Look up the name Bragg." And it was Mary Bragg. So I looked up Mary Bragg. I said, "Oh, we preserved her marriage license a few years back." And he said, "That's your 5th great grandmother." So talking about an odd, I found, so I'm one of you, for those of you born and raised here. You're Virginia, but is it by marriage, by birth, by marriage, there's all these things Virginians used to demand you be, to be one of them. And I'm one. So I'm happy for that. So I'm going to leave it at this, and maybe we can just have some conversation. I know we're pretty timely normally. I was going to do some more searching with some of the names here, but I think it'd be easier maybe just to have some one-on-one conversations. So how about some questions?
Chaz,
Yes, sir.
do other counties in the Commonwealth do this to the extent that you are doing this? And if so, is there a clearinghouse if we could link through Rockingham to another county's records?
So no, Steve Landis in Augusta is doing a great job. So I went to JMU to be a history teacher. I was really sure that was what I was going to be in life, and it didn't work out that way, but I found history's just waiting. Many of you know Wayne Harper, my predecessor. Wayne didn't do it wrong. Wayne did what I always say. Wayne did what Clerks did. They kept the record. It doesn't say present it, make it searchable. And they didn't have the technology like we have in this. He started in 77. They didn't have that. They didn't have those opportunities. I think you'll start to see some changes with Clerks now that we've done this, and we created this bedrock for Rappahannock and Madison and Augusta. Augusta is going to be really amazing records. If you don't know, we came from Augusta, 1778. We were Augusta County. In 1778, Rockingham County was created. But in the 1700s, when Augusta was first splitting, it became things like Ohio, West Virginia. Augusta went all the way up around Lake Erie, talking about a massive, massive county. So he has one of the first items I saw down in Augusta County, and I knew Steve had a treasure, was actually a deed. And he talks about it now. It's his favorite item, a deed where the tribes of the area sold their land to create the city of Pittsburgh. That was Augusta County. And they're all tribal markings. It's absolutely fascinating. So he's got treasure, but I think what you'll start to see is clerks nowadays are starting to look at their records a little bit differently. Not everywhere. You know, there's a lot of courts that have 3 people. Well, you know, we are a much larger office. We do a lot more business. Out of 120, we're probably 7th or 8th in the amount of work that we do, workload. It's a very, very busy courthouse. And a lot of offices, when you get into smaller areas, their courthouses were burned. Dozens and dozens of courthouses were burned. Nothing is left. So they get up to late 1800s and it's gone. But anyway, but thanks, Tom. Other questions? You're going to make it that easy.
I guess with Rockingham County being part of Augusta County of old, any interesting things that y'all discovered about Rockingham County?
Say it real loud. So not yet. We do know that our first clerk, his name was Peter Hogg, H-O-G-G. Mr. Hogg came from there. Other than that, we're not connecting anything else down there. Our oldest land grant, which is over in the book, came from King George II in 1739. That's kind of Augusta's, but it's in this area now, so I'm not giving it back unless the judge says I would have to. I suspect we'll continue to find some things. Steve's doing a great job. He's bringing in a lot of the same people that we used through JMU. Some of my former deputies are going down to help him. There's just so much out there. Every time we turn around, we find something new in this courthouse. I can say that I'm pretty sure we know what's there now. And we're down, instead of rooms full, they would stack things in a room, get to the door, close it, throw a couple more things on top of the stack and not think of it. Because it was stuff. We honestly can, I think, find stuff. I have a 5-minute rule. We should be able to put our hands on anything within 5 minutes in the courthouse. I mean, because if it's an original, you want an original. I want to put that item in front of you. We still have originals. We just make sure the digital copy is more readily available, but we do keep the originals of most everything. Pre-1913, it's all kept. After 1913, there's some discretion. So, folks, it's your courthouse. Did you have another question? Okay.
Got it. So my son's a political science, international relations major. What folks that have your job, what is the typical career path or education? And what was the point when you said, I think I'm going to run for that office or tackle that? Like, what's your story?
Yeah. God got in my way through a lot of guys. A lot of guys got in my way because I didn't know what my direction was. I was going to JMU. I had been fortunate to work for Senator from Idaho, Senator McClure from Idaho back in the 80s before I came to the Valley to finish my degree. And I came here because my oldest brother got out of the Marine Corps, followed a girl here, to be truthful. And he called me and he said, Chaz, there's so many girls in Harrisonburg, Virginia. I need to finish my degree. So I came to Harrisonburg, Virginia about 2 weeks later. And so, it's been great ever since. But as far as running for clerk, there was nothing when Chuck Aaron, for those who remember Chuck Aaron, Pablo Cuevas, they were on the board of supervisors. I was working for Governor George Allen, and they called me and they said, Chaz would like to meet you. I can't do Pablo's voice, but it was pretty funny. Tuesday, coffee. And so I sat down with them and they said, we really think you should think about running for clerk of court. And I said, what's the clerk of court? And I spent 2 years finding clerks in Virginia that were really good and getting advice from them and seeing what they did well. and a couple of them dabbled, Chesterfield, Henrico dabbled in a lot of the getting deeper into records for people. And so I just looked to say, what did they do really, really, really well? And that really, it's what we did, what I did with Governor Allen or Good Lad or any of the others, is just take care of people. Focus on the person you're with, not the person who's next, but focus where you're at, be present with them, take care of them, move on. And don't forget what you come from. I mean, I'm still shocked. I love going to work every day, and I'm grateful to be there every day. And we're getting a lot done. It's just like you all, we're struggling. Who's hiring right now in their businesses? Who's struggling to hire in their businesses? Right? Trying to hire. That's what we should say. Right. We just spent the better part of a year, and I've talked to a few of you because I know it's across the industry, a quarter to a third down, most of the time a third down. Guess who gets to work overtime? This lucky guy. And good thing I love it, but it's tough. We used to have 75 to 100 applicants every time we had a deputy clerk position. We're trying to get creative and talked about ways to, how do we make this look glamorous? You're going to sit in a courtroom and say, yes, judge, and hand them pictures. And how glamorous is this? But the importance of it, how do we make sure people understand the value in working in a court system or in whatever industry it is within, so that's always a tough one. But, people are starting to apply. We did have the one that showed up the other day, went to lunch and texted, I'm not coming back. What's wrong with people? I can't, if you can please help me with that, I'll give you a get out of jury duty free pass. So, but industry, it's good. We have people to take care of. End of the day, we'll figure out how to take care of you. It's just some days lately, it takes a few extra days. And I'm sorry for that. But we're gonna get that much better. Again, everything we do every day is done. If it's in our basket today, it's done today. We never walk out to catch up tomorrow. And that's really unique for those of you who have used a lot of courts. Sometimes it takes a couple weeks to get things. And again, it's because of the team. It's not me. I just say, hey, let's do it this way. Let's try this. And they make it happen. So again, grateful for them. Thank you for that. Yes. So when you say interface, you talk about talking or so how do we connect with other clerks? There's 120 of us. Some are active. It's like it's church or anything else. 20% of the people doing 80% of the work. We have the Virginia Court Clerks Association, which is an interesting bunch. I led that group for years because there is nothing that says, not a lot that says this is how you do your job. We have the Code of Virginia, but how you get to the end is not always laid out. We have a group at the Supreme Court called the Office of the Executive Secretary. Most of us use a lot of their computer systems, which are horrible. Remember green screen? Who remembers green screen? F2, F3. Guess what? Supreme Court still thinks that's a good program. And it's embarrassing at times. But so our interface, our interaction, we do a lot from the legislative side. We do work hard to make sure that any changes they're going to be making to us are good for you, are a good way to serve. It's DMV. If you things like DMV likes you to come to them and search for your birth certificate. Has anybody done that? Has anybody gone to DMV for your birth certificate? No? Well, you can walk down there. Let me do marriage license because that's my record. Marriage license, you come to my office, we check it. If you want a copy, 50 cents, we put it in your hand, buy. If you go to DMV, they say, search is $14. Thank you very much for your $14. How do you spell your last name? Blackwell, Blackwell. I'm sorry, we don't have it. Thank you. Thank you for the $14 just to search. Can you imagine if every time, I know there's a couple of attorneys here. Can you imagine if you called us and that said, hey, can you look at this file, Chaz? $14. There's no way. So anyway, so things like that from the legislative side, we try to fight things like that. We try to fight things because really clerks are in the core of their communities and really trying to do well, for everybody. So we have an association. We work well together. We have a convention. We have some education opportunities. But really, we just try to bring other clerks along, try to share what we're doing. Always have something to share. And hopefully we'll inspire some other clerks to do a better job. Is that it? Good. It's your courthouse. Come
Thank
and
you,
visit.
Chaz. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, great presentation, and it really gives me confidence in our government. I've known Chaz for a while, but somebody who says their job is to serve us and to spend our money wisely, that's really good. Keep doing it. Thank you for all of you attending today, particularly Ken and April. Really appreciate you being with us. Hope you come back. And we are adjourned.